start a video?
Point to us.
All right.
That's right.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well.
They can't respond.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is a.
They're well.
This is a one-way. This is an
Right.
all-tell conversation.
Correct.
It's not very. It's not very two-way.
All right. Hello.
Hi.
We are DB Photographics. That's Dave.
That's Brad.
That's D. That's B.
Yeah.
That's our clever name for our company.
Pretty smart.
But pretty smart. We just wanted to say hello, introduce ourselves, talk about a little bit where we come from photographically.
Yeah.
Not a real word. And talk about
Photographically.
That's it. .ca. What we're wanting to do with this little web series, we want to talk to you about photo tips or what you should be or could be doing on your wedding day. What else, Dave?
Well, just generally, like who we are, what we do, and the ways that you can really make sure that you're getting the most out of, not even just with us, like any kind of photo session. I think later on with this, we also hope to eventually get into a little bit more of a teach type scenario. So we want to kind of give you a little bit of behind the scenes peek on A, what makes a good photo session, B, kind of in terms of the editing, in terms of the after. Because really, photography breaks down to two separate things. There's the the shoot itself, and then everything that happens after. We want to kind of give you a little bit of a behind the scenes peek on how all those things work.
Yeah, behind the scenes is big for us, and the take on what others may say. We want to share what our view is, and like Dave said about the two parts. A lot of people you're going to read about or hear about on the internet have got to get it right in the camera, and we do believe that, but that's just a starting point.
I think that's actually a good place to start because honestly. And we do a ton. What we found awesome about the kind of the photography community is they are cool about sharing secrets. They're cool about if this is something if you're watching these videos in terms of wanting to get some tips on kind of how to become a better photographer yourself. This is why we're also doing this. We have learned a ton from just going to the internet from photographers that we admire that are just so great at sharing what they do. And in tutorials, in all sorts of just YouTube channels, and we wanted to kind of, we've learned a lot from that. We wanted to be able to give back to that.
So much so, spoiler alert, I haven't had any real formal training in photography.
Well, that's not probably a cool thing to tell people.
But look at my photos. They're passable.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
we do fine.
My point is that with all the tutorials and everyone helping out, we just thought it was time that we could maybe help some other people as well.
Yeah.
And that there's not necessarily a right way. There's different ways,
Right.
and we just wanted to share what works for us.
Yeah. So from that sense, Brad, you kind of have gone into a little bit. Why don't you give us a little bit, so what got you into doing this?
I always loved photography. I'm a little older than you, so I came from before digital time and had to
I don't remember what that was like.
Yeah, it was a film thing. You put it in the camera, wound it, and sent it away to get developed.
Seems tedious.
It was very tedious and often got photos wrong.
Right.
Horrible. You're at the beautiful setting, take this great photo, get it back, it's wrong. I loved photography, but I didn't understand it. I was on automatic all the time. Digital came along. I took a trip to India and for 3 weeks shot the most beautiful scenery ever.
Right.
And then when I got back from this trip, people seemed to love the photos and tell me that it was great. They loved little things about the photos that I just was taking photos.
Right.
So then I got to thinking, well, maybe I have something and I could maybe start getting into photography. Happened to have a girlfriend at the time who was very indulgent and let me figure out the different settings on my camera with the manual and the aperture. What does that mean? And so I learned a lot from that. Internet, learned a lot, and eventually started understanding it all. It all came together, started getting some clients along, and was off and running. So
that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. What got you into it?
Funny enough, so I started by getting a degree in theater at the University of Alberta and did a lot of kind of theater directing type stuff. So with that, what I loved about doing that kind of thing was I loved control. I loved being able to kind of craft an image, paint a picture, kind of place things where you wanted and help audiences, focus on individual elements. That's what's actually really kind of cool about and the challenge of kind of directing when you're directing a play is how do you get the audience to look at a certain spot when they clearly
direct them to that.
Yeah, exactly. Like when they clearly can look absolutely anywhere.
Yeah,
How do you draw their attention to a certain spot? And how are you also conscious of a wandering eye? How are you conscious of kind of, well, if they're not looking here, if they start to veer off in another place, like where are they going to look, and what's the information that they're going to know?
A magician with the sleight of
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So from that, we started to do a lot of plays with the kind of with the Edmonton Fringe Festival, and with that, when you got to market a show, you got to come up with your kind of market, like your material. So I think it was my friend Nathan had a Canon Power Shot, and this was digital.
That's a point and shoot, a power.
Yeah. But it was a little bit better. Kind of had a little bit of a telephoto lens. So for my intro to photography, I was like, well, okay, I can do a little zoom. This feels better than those kind of initial maybe 3.2 megapixel. It was a little bit of a step up. It was by no means an SLR or anything like that. And would just kind of figure out. I think I always kind of had, from kind of this artistic side of it, had an idea of what I wanted the image to look like. I could see it in my head. I could kind of see it from different.
For the poster, you mean, like?
Yeah. So or any kind of like even just kind of promotion, like just more of the advertising side to kind of get people to, out of the hundreds of show options that they had, to get them into our chairs and come see our show. So from there, started doing that and started doing a little bit of poster design. I was doing it in programs that were not probably what I should have been doing.
MS Paint?
Yeah, posters and paint, which was also the name of my production company. That's not true at all. So then from there, realized that photography was kind of a cool avenue to kind of do the same thing that I was doing in directing, but do it on my own terms without necessarily having to rely on a ton of other people or incorporate a ton of other decisions. It was a way to be able to create those kind of pictures I was talking about before, those kind of stage images, but just in a single image, and then be able to tweak and develop. And then I ended up meeting you, so we worked at the same place for a while.
And I was going to say, I remember, was it Stars and Sons? Was that the gas station?
Yeah.
I remember we had just really started
we can toss it up here.
Yeah, the Stars and Sons cover. This is the poster.
This poster, yeah.
And I remember you talking about this, and then I went to your play just out of courtesy.
Right.
So you invited me. You should go see my play. I'm like, okay. Happened to be good. It happened to be a good play. So excellent. But I remember that poster was so perfect for the play.
Cool.
And that's the whole idea, I think, for you is how do you get in one frame, one image, the play, the idea of the play.
Yeah.
Which is, again, spoiler alert, what we love about working with theater groups is that we get to talk about that. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So we met each other and got a little bit more involved in photography. You started up your...
Yeah, I started up my own thing. So ended up buying a Rebel XT, which ended up being the same thing that you had, and we had met at a place where we worked. And then from there, it was, again, I think this is one of those things that what's interesting about photography is if you've got more of like the artistic sense of kind of what the thing you're trying to do, what the image that you're trying to produce is, if you can get it in the head, then what you need to do is just learn how to do that, how to make that little machine be able to replicate that image, and then understand things like how lighting affects that, and how the device in your hand, the shake in your hand impacts those things. So I ended up taking a course through Metro Community College here in Edmonton, and that was just simply a course on how do I make this thing get that image that I'm looking for.
And that's when I had the girlfriend that let me.
Yeah.
I was doing the same thing that your course did. It took me a little longer.
Right.
But it's still the same idea.
And as you're saying, kind of like no photography. That is the only official formal course that I've actually ended up taking was simply a course on that. Was simply on like what is aperture, what is shutter speed, what is ISO, how do those three things relate to each other, and then a little bit on the broader aspects of, they talked about things like rules of thirds and those types of composition. Yeah. But what I found was like that I felt like I had that kind of understanding already.
From the theater.
Yeah. Just again, like I felt like when I took a picture, I kind of knew where the weight of the image should be. Maybe it's kind of down in that lower left or lower right side or those kind of things, depending on what you're taking. So I think that's what came. And then when we started to work together, I think we kind of seem to approach it from the same place.
And it's funny, we talk about the knowing where to weight the image. That's what I had no idea what composition was.
Right.
I had no idea of these rules of thirds and diagonals, leading lines. But there is a thing, I'll talk about artistic or whatever you want, that it just looks right.
Yeah.
It just looks right. And for whatever reason, I seem to have the ability to compose it in a way that was rule of thirds, and I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, on a stage what needs to happen, on an image what needs to happen.
Right.
And that's why I think I was going to say, even though you've only had that one class, your images are passable as well. So
Well, thank you.
But-
I'm glad.
but
That's what I shoot for.
but what I love about working together is that it really feels organic every
Right.
time. It's not a, okay, we need to do a rule of thirds here, or we need to have a diagonals, and let's set up the lights here, and it just kind of happens on the shoot. And that's what the artistic side. You talked about the learning all the exposure and aperture and all that. Photography at the end of the day is an art and a science, and understanding those both and how they work together is the challenge of becoming a photographer. That's the thing that takes the time to.
So and I think on that, and it's really kind of an interesting kind of jumping off point for this kind of video series. If you're looking to become a better photographer, if you're learning how to the tricks of the trade and that kind of thing, as you kind of go through the internet, one of the things that you are going to find is you're going to find people who give you the rules. And there aren't any. Like, honestly, there's some suggestions and there's some things to kind of keep in mind, but a lot of the times, just with any kind of art, the best image comes from breaking that idea or going on the opposite side or doing things kind of in a way that people wouldn't expect intentionally.
Turn your camera on.
That's probably one of the big rules.
And then from there,
yeah, unless your whole thing is to do a picture of nothing.
Miming,
a picture of nothing.
picture of nothing.
Yeah.
But that's it. The rules, there are none, and that's what I enjoy about working with you. But how did we get to work together? I don't know if we really quite talked about that.
Well, we kind of did a little bit of really kind of in the sense of kind of learning how to use cameras, and you had a little bit more experience at the time than I had. But basically, what ended up happening was we kind of started to just kind of practice some cool techniques that we had seen again online in videos very similar to this type of thing. And then from there, actually just took a crazy leap and ended up shooting a wedding.
2 weddings.
Back to back.
Back to back.
Yeah.
You had your first opportunity to shoot a wedding. I'd done some work. I just shot a wedding or
Right.
2, helped out some people,
Yeah.
and so you wanted some help. And what I loved, because I have to back up, the weddings I worked with other people, I was a second shooter, as they call it,
Right.
and that's a glorified assistant. It's a grunt. It's a
Right.
I'm going to be in charge, and you as the second shooter.
You're the caddy.
You're the caddy. Carry the bags,
Right.
etc. And so I was willing to do that for you because I know you had these 2 weddings, a Friday and a Saturday.
Yeah.
So we did that, and instantly realized it wasn't that.
Right.
I was not your second shooter. I was as valid. My points were as valid as yours were, and it wasn't an ego thing. If I was holding the light and I said, "What if she kind of moved?" Oh, yeah, that's great. And it was a collaborative thing, and there was no I'm the boss, you're the thing, and that's what I loved first and foremost. And that was 2 days in a row that we got to experience that. So that was exciting for me because that wasn't the experience I'd had on other weddings. So after we shot those couple of weddings, we still kind of were on our own for a while, and then more and more thinking about it, it was too good working together to not do it as a company.
Yeah.
So we started that several years ago now, and there's a lot of advantage of working as a duo. the big things. What's your favorite thing about as an equal duo?
When it when it comes to us working together, it's one of these things that, and we say this a lot when we kind of meet with people, but if we look back through our our portfolio, within there, like it is tough sometimes to tell who took what photo, and as much as you want to feel like, feel the pride and like, that one's mine, that one. Realistically, I actually look back at it and I'm like, I am proud that we have a kind of a collective body of work now that is consistent, and there's an expectation in terms of the quality level that I know will be in there, and kind of the perspective is typically very similar. There's a lot of times when we do shoots where if you're being the caddy, if you're holding the light or whatever, where I'll be taking a picture and you'll say, wait, I see it from this side. Hold on, because where you're standing, you kind of see an angle, and then instantly, it's not even a question though. I just take the camera, I give it to you, you give me the light, and we swap.
Here's a good example. So we'll show here a photo. The Ruth and Justin. Right. So here's a photo of Dave taking the photo of Ruth and Justin, a beautiful couple sitting on a log.
So with this single image right now, like you can see where I'm facing Justin, he's looking at me, Ruth's looking away a little bit.
I'm standing on the log.
Yeah,
with
kind
a
of
light
in the direction where she's looking.
Right. And as I'm standing up there, I'm seeing another perspective. So let Dave do his photos from the ground level.
Yeah.
And then Dave, okay, and we throw the camera and light exchange, and then I take photos and we get this image here,
there you go,
which is a completely different angle.
No, but the cool thing is no one's moved. There's only 4 of us involved in this thing.
Yeah.
No one has moved spots.
And this happens all the time.
Right.
We're set up. One's just a lighting person, set up the light, and can see, when he's done, I'm gonna do some things, and it's just flip. Here's the camera. Here's the light. Let's go. And that's the thing. It's a double creativity kind of thing, and it's quick. We get so many different shots. I know other photographers get a lot of shots like that, but they have to kind of move around and jump up and explore. We're doing that naturally because one of us is holding a light.
Yeah, and I guess when you're also in that same sense talking about the advantage of two kind of like a photography team as opposed to even just the combination of myself with some other photographer, maybe a friend of mine or that kind of thing. The difference is exactly that. I can, without a question, hand him the camera, and I have no issue about what's going to happen or having to spend some time kind of teaching you of like, here's the angle or here's what we're looking for. I know instantly what he's going to pull off and what that thing is going to look like. And now we've actually got an incredible shorthand when we're shooting.
One of my favorite things is sometimes I can't communicate to you what I see.
Right.
So I'm holding the light and I say, well, what if she moves closer to him and you're not quite getting it, but what, sitting down and you go, here.
Yeah.
Give me the camera and I know what I'm looking at, and there's no, I'm the boss, it's...
And in that same vein, when we talk about no official training in this and that sense, our shorthand is probably not the correct lingo. It's probably not, but it gets the job done. And it's funny that I think I've taught you a lot more theater terms probably than photography terms.
Sheet left.
Yeah, exactly right. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's artistically, it's what I love about working with Dave. Just there's nothing that's too crazy. We'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens, and that for me is the biggest advantage.
Awesome. Brad, what can they expect from future kind of videos?
Well, I think going forward we might give a little bit of wide variety. Some tips for photographers, I think, is a good idea. But also, weddings is a big thing for us. So we've become what we call mini wedding planners. We know how the day goes, and we've kind of come up with some very cool things that help your day go better. So we'd like to pass some of those things along to everyone that might be getting married. Anything else that you think we might...
Yeah, well, like we mentioned off the top, I think we're gonna do a few video series and kind of from kind of camera to delivery, right? The idea of maybe even some kind of behind the scenes in terms of what it looks like with like in an actual photo shoot, to the images and kind of where we get, and even potentially even how we kind of get those things back to clients. We want to give you kind of a behind the scenes in the process of doing what we do.
Like how we come up with locations, or take on those kinds of things. Headshots, like that's a big thing. Our philosophy on a lot of things might be different, and kind of getting back to that, there are no rules.
Right.
Just a different approach that we might have and want to share with everyone.
Awesome. Well, I hope this has been valuable, and I hope you guys are interested in seeing a few more, behind the scenes at DB Photographics. For that, I'm Dave.
I'm Brad.
Thanks for watching, guys. So.